Playing the piano. Mhm. Learn how to play the piano. Mhm.
The piece today is in honor of the Thai Dam community that was welcomed back in the 70s, I believe, into Des Moines. The language is Lao, which is the closest that Google Translate could find to what the Thai Dam speak. So it's a bit of a challenge. I'll say Santifab Yukab Tan, and you, insofar as you are able, try to reply Lianyang Kabtan. Santifab Yukab Tan. Very good. Now turn and pass the piece to those around you. Remain standing for our first hymn.
We are building a new way. We are building a new way. We are building a new way, feeling stronger every day. We are building a new way. We are working to be free. We are working to be free. We are working to be free. Hate and greed and jealousy. We are working to be free. We can feel every need. We can feel our every need. Our every need. Start with love, that is the seed. We can feel our every need. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Without these, this world will die. Freedom is our cry.
Welcome.
Good morning. I'm Diane Ford, your celebrant for this morning.
And I'm the Reverend Meredith Garmon, minister to this congregation.
Welcome to the First Unitarian Church of Des Moines, and a special welcome to any of our visitors. And for those of you on Zoom, thanks for tuning in, and please be sure to mute your mic. If you're here with children, there is childcare, or feel free to keep them seated with you, or utilize our play area in the back.
We open this gathering with an acknowledgement of the lands, waters, plants, and animals, human and otherwise, whose being is bound up with our own in mutual dependence, whose ghosts are among us here. The first humans arrived here 13,000 years ago, starting with cultures we identify by the style of their stone tools. The Clovis were first, followed by Folsom and Dalton. Later, woodlands and hopewell cultures were here. By the 14th century, the Oneata were here. The Iowa arrived in the 16th century, followed by the Sauk and Meskwaki migrating west because of European incursion in their former lands. Non-human animals, now extinct or in much diminished numbers, have also been here. These include the whooping crane, large flocks of which once migrated through these lands. This location's past calls to us occupying it in the present to join the work of education and healing for all species.
And bring awareness also to our current location in the rhythms of nature. Today is the 9th Sunday of winter, only 4 more weeks until spring. The snow moon was full on Tuesday night and is now waning gibbous. Valentine's Day was Friday, and we hope you chocolated responsibly. Our Muslim friends are preparing for Ramadan, which begins in 12 days on February 28. And on the Christian calendar, today is the 6th of 8 Sundays of ordinary time before Ash Wednesday on March 5th. For newcomers to our congregation who may be curious to learn a little more about us, every first Sunday of the month, we have a curiosity conversation after the service. The next one will be on Sunday, March 2nd, just after the service in the back of this room.
The year's curriculum for spiritual growth is sketched in our thematic ministry flyer in the shelf up front. Our theme for February is borders and boundaries. Our connection circles will be exploring that theme. If you're new here, sign-up sheets are in the corner in the back. Copies of Borders and Boundaries packet are available in the basket just outside the back doors. And now we light our chalice.
We dedicate our chalice this morning to the 7th of our 7 historic Unitarian Universalist principles, our covenant to affirm and promote respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are just a part. Please join in the responsive chalice lighting from Reinhold Niebuhr on the screen. And you will do the words in yellow, I hear. Nothing worth doing is complete in our lifetime. Nothing true or beautiful or good makes complete sense in any immediate context of history.
Therefore, we are saved by faith.
Nothing we do, however virtuous, can be accomplished alone.
Therefore, we are saved by love.
No virtuous act is quite as virtuous from the standpoint of our friend or foe as from our own.
Therefore, we are saved by the final form of love, which is forgiveness. We are a people of covenant, not of creed, and we express our covenant in our denomination's bylaws, our bond of union, our mission, and our relational covenant. Today, please join me in affirming our congregation's relational covenant. We covenant to care for our own well-being, each other's well-being, and the well-being of our community as a whole. We covenant to care for our own well-being, each other's well-being, and the well-being of our community as a whole. We will recognize the inherent worth and dignity of all, be respectful and kind, valuing the gifts and individuality of all, listen with empathy, and consider the impact of our words and actions. Be patient and understanding with each other, find a pathway, and work for reconciliation. Well, we didn't repeat most of it.
For our responsive invocation, please respond with the words in yellow italic. This is where we are. Where do we go from here? First, we must massively assert our dignity and worth.
We must stand up amidst a system that still oppresses and develop an unassailable and majestic sense of values.
What is needed is a realization that power without love is reckless and abusive.
And that love without power is sentimental and anemic.
Power at its best is love, implementing the demands of justice.
Justice at its best is power, correcting everything that stands against love.
And this is what we must see as we move on.
Oh, let my heart, oh, that I seek, let me be part of the love that's given.
Today's story is The Not So Friendly Friend. There once was a girl who was new at her school. To make some good friends, she liked to use the golden rule. She treated her classmates how she liked to be treated, and she was helpful and loving, and her hugs were the sweetest. It was easy to like her because she was so lovely and kind, a good problem solver with a bright and sharp mind. She shared and took turns, was as fair as they come. She used words, not her body, to solve any problem. But try as she might, not everyone liked her. There was one other kid who found a reason to fight her. Unkind words and rude actions would make her heart frown. When they played together, she was left feeling down. She realized this friend was no friend at all, because someone who loves you won't make you feel so small. Staying true to herself and her beautiful heart, she created some boundaries, the right place to start. If this kid was nice, she'd play and have fun. But if they were not, then she'd say, all done. If you want to be kind, I'll be glad to be with you to play. But if you don't treat me right, then you can go on your way. I'll play with true friends who make me feel good and treat me with love just as a friend should. When you're ready to change and be nice again, you're welcome to join and play with us then. The lesson she learned, she still uses today. She won't put up with bullies. It's never okay. She stands up for herself and how she wants to be treated, and does so respectfully so she doesn't get heated. And if she needs help or doesn't know what to say, she asks a trusted adult to show her the way. With boundaries in place, healthy friendships can grow. You'll have fun and feel safe with your heart all aglow. So remember, just like the girl in our story today, be kind to others, stand strong, and show respect every day. At this time, we will be singing the kiddos out for the children's benediction. If all the kiddos would like to stand up and join us in the back, we're going to go downstairs for classes for the remainder of the service.
Go enjoy the peace to meet the day with open heart and grace undone. We will guide you, we'll love you all the way.
I'm Elijah Evans, pronouns he, him.
And I'm Anna Davis Evans, pronouns she, her. We're here to tell you a little bit we were asked to speak on part of the stewardship committee. So after attending the Cedar Valley Unitarian Universalist Church for some years and coping with the upheaval that was the COVID-19 pandemic as it coincided with our move to the Des Moines area, Elijah and I found ourselves without familiarity, without community, and without a spiritual haven. We began attending this church on the first Sunday of January in just 2024. We began pledging this past summer, and we officially became members this past autumn. As young adults who've only recently transitioned from graduate school to establishing our careers, the resources we have to offer this community much more often manifest as labor and time than as finances. Frankly, we do not tithe the recommended amount from the UUA. It simply doesn't fit this season in our lives. Even so, we tithe. We tithe with the knowledge that giving it all is more than giving nothing and makes a difference, and with the hope that we may one day soon be able to give more.
We keep our contribution a priority in our household budget because of how much this place has come to mean to both of us. Like so many others here, each of us was unable to find a spiritual home in the religious traditions of our families of origin. Speaking for myself, I very much doubted I would ever find a community that accepted and affirmed my unique patchwork of spiritual beliefs and practices. Quickly, we were pleasantly surprised that this place, composed of these people, is open-minded and inclusive enough to embrace our whole selves and provide us the home we have always sought. As a result, we give whatever we can to sustain its mission. In that spirit, we recognize that our gifts are gratefully given and gratefully received.
Well, that was lovely. Good morning, everyone. I'm John Morrow, Pastoral Care Associate for our congregation. You are invited to call upon the pastoral care team if you are going through any significant transition in your life, just to talk it over. Reach out to us at pastoralcareteam@ucdsm.org. You can always request assistance, volunteer to provide it, or submit a joy or sorrow through the Caring Community page on our website, or by speaking to me or any member of the pastoral care team. We have the following joys and sorrows to share. Charlie Johnson fell last Sunday afternoon and broke his hip. He had a successful surgery on Monday and is now in rehabilitation at Wesley Acres. He and Jane appreciate your healing wishes and support as he recovers. Dave Clark is home from Iowa City and knee replacement surgery. And Susan Seitz is having rotator cuff surgery on her right shoulder tomorrow, Monday. We send them both healing wishes as well. A memorial service for Hazel Zimmerman has been scheduled for Saturday, May 3rd at 2 p.m. here at the church. Let us share together now the names of anyone we know who could use some special care and attention. You may call the name out loud or type it into the chat. As we share these names, may the love of this community hold them all.
Dear Spirit of life and love, we pray so that we might hear our own heart's yearnings, that we might then guide ourselves intentionally by what we express. The news swirls around us and we are apt to be dispirited. Yet we are grateful to Jordan as that nation receives 2,000 children from Palestine, Gaza, children suffering from cancer and trauma of war. May there be a continued ceasefire in Gaza. May equitable distribution of humanitarian aid arrive and appropriate policing to prevent foodstuffs from going to the black market. May there be an end to Israeli apartheid, with security for Israel and justice for Palestinians. Unaccompanied children at the US and Mexico border are at extreme risk and now unable to reunite with their family or sponsors, with only a limited number of legal and social service agencies trying to comfort and assist them. May the way forward to ease their suffering be found. May a path toward peace with justice be found for the war-torn areas, Ukraine, Sudan. Let us accept the invitation that Mohandas Gandhi extended when he said, "I am praying for the light that will dispel the darkness. Let those who have a living faith in nonviolence join me in the prayer." May our minds discern clearly. May our hearts be open. May our hands be outreached. May a living faith of nonviolence move over this splintered world. Amen.
May the light of our community shine on the broken places of the world. May we breathe in awareness of every pain and grief and breathe out compassion and comfort. We light 3 candles, one for the joys and sorrows shared aloud, one for those shared in writing, and one for those held silently among us. For all of these, we now observe a minute of silence.
Go out. breath. It's cold. Back in. No.
When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out,
I breathe out love. Spiritual practice requires a certain degree of childlike innocence, of accepting what seem to be illusions. Here are some attitudes, hopes, and beliefs that many people regard as illusions. Radical transformation is possible. The world can be suffused with love. One can enjoy a measure of happiness and peace in the crazy world we live in. Be a child of such illusion. Being a child of illusion doesn't mean you ignore the more difficult side of life and of humanity. It just means you don't have to let that side completely colonize your mind and heart. Why not have, along with our appropriate adult perspective, a child's eye view of the world also? After all, we've been practicing seeing everything as a dream, examining unborn awareness, resting in openness of mind. To be a child of illusion is to take those practices into everyday life and introduce an element of childlike delight. You can stop every now and then and look out the window. Whatever you see, take it in for a moment with wonder. That person in your life who has been giving you a hard time, as you are talking to her and looking at her, notice her eyes and ears and nose and marvel at them. Conventional reality is not the only reality. It's an important reality, and we have to deal with it. But it is not the only reality, and thinking it is only hems us in, imprisons and confines us. Being a child of illusion, together with see everything as a dream, examine the nature of awareness, don't get stuck on peace, and rest in the openness of mind, expands and smooths the space we are living in, breaking down walls that we've been putting up for so long.
We come now to the offering, recalling again the seventh of our historic principles, respect for the interdependent web of existence of which we are all a part. The offering then is gratefully given and gratefully received.
So there's a sticky note in your order of service. Before I'm done, I'll tell you what to do with that, but you'll need to write on it. So if you have a writing utensil, that's handy. And if you don't, we have a basket of pencils on the back table when you get a chance to slip back there. Take heart, friends. The opposition is forming. In an article day before yesterday, Quinta Juricic noted that the administration is encountering persistent and growing opposition both from courts and other pockets of civic life. There may be an attempt to defy court orders, but Juricic notes there is significance to the fact that the administration already has a hefty stack of court orders it might want to defy. Litigants have sued the administration over the seemingly unlawful freezing of federal funds, the deferred resignation program for civil servants, the destruction of USAID, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, the handling of sensitive government data by Musk's aides, the removal of scientific data from government websites, the attempt to write birthright citizenship out of the Constitution, the barring of transgender people from military service, the transfer of undocumented immigrants to Guantanamo Bay, and more. Court orders already in have prevented the administration from dismissing a government watchdog without explanation and granted restraining orders barring the administration from slashing funds for crucial scientific research. They have prevented the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, from meddling with Treasury Department systems and insisted that the government halt its transfer of an incarcerated transgender woman to a men's prison. 4 separate judges have issued orders requiring the government to stand down on its effort to dismantle birthright citizenship. The deferred resignation program for federal employees was closed on Wednesday as a number of government employees had expressed defiance. Posted one, "Before the buyout memo, I was ready to go job hunting, but then a revelation hit. I took an oath under this position to the American people." As the Office of Personnel Management had called the program a fork in the road, some federal employees adopted the spoon as the symbol of their opposition. Earlier this week, federal workers rallied at a protest outside the Capitol holding signs that read, "Public service is a badge of honor." During a visit by Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth to a U.S. military installation in Germany, an 8th grader organized a walkout at her middle school to protest Hegseth's attacks on diversity efforts within the military. And Unitarian Universalists are in on the resistance. We are numerically small, but we are mighty. A number of folks have observed that we UUs punch above our weight when it comes to making a difference for social justice. This week, my inbox has brought me notice that our National Unitarian Universalist Association has joined with a multi-faith coalition and the Institute for Constitutional Advocacy and Protection to bring a lawsuit challenging Immigration and Customs Enforcement's sensitive locations policy. Churches as well as schools and hospitals had previously been protected from ICE enforcement actions, but a Department of Homeland Security memo rescinded that protection on January 20th. Our UUA is standing strong for the principle that subjecting places of worship to ICE enforcement actions without a judicial warrant substantially burdens our religious exercise in violation of the First Amendment and the Religious Freedom Restoration Act. Our UUA president, Sophia Betancourt, said, "We know that many of our congregations include members who are immigrants, both documented and undocumented. And many of you carry out important ministries that serve immigrant communities in church spaces. The UUA is committed to supporting and protecting your ability to continue this vital and life-saving work." Our Unitarian Universalist Service Committee has been working for human rights around the globe with projects, for instance, in Haiti, supporting civil groups on the forefront of resistance and rebuilding there. And UUSC has been working with partners and allies around the world to end Israel's human rights violations in the occupied territories. UUSC is part of a coalition calling for the temporary ceasefire to be made permanent and for a ban on arms transfers to Israel. If you go to the UUA.org website, the first thing you'll see at the top of the page is a tool to find a congregation near you. And then there are 3 prominent links on that home page. Meet Your Region, which will show you a map of the U.S. divided into the 5 Unitarian Universalist regions. Iowa is in the Mid-America region, naturally. The second link is Act for Justice. That is such a prominent part of who we are. If you click on that, you will read, "Justice is at the core of our faith. Our congregations are called to make a positive difference in our wider communities. We work to serve, to raise awareness, and to support and partner with people who face injustice. We advocate, organize, and act for justice to live out the values of our faith." Unitarians and Universalists have not always been so big on social justice. Yes, our denomination was the faith home of a number of prominent abolitionists before the Civil War, but sad to say, we also had a number of members whose wealth came from enslavement and who quietly, usually, vociferously if necessary, snuffed out any fledgling effort at congregational action for abolition. Unitarian minister Reverend John Haynes Holmes prominently opposed World War I, but he was roundly denounced by pretty much all the rest of the Unitarian establishment of his time. In those days, Unitarianism was basically Christianity light. The story is told that in those times a woman was asked why she was Unitarian, and she answered, "Well, everybody's got to be something, and Unitarian is the least you can be." In the 1920s and 30s, we see the beginning of a shift that would lead to the way that we see ourselves today. This was when the humanist movement got going within Unitarianism and to a lesser extent within Universalism. Humanism dropped God out of the picture altogether and emphasized the scientific method. Religious concepts were redefined into human, non-magical understandings. We started to sing hymns with such lyrics as, "Where is our holy church? Where people unite in the search for beauty, truth, and light. Where is our holy land? Within the human soul, wherever free minds truly seek with character the goal." By the middle of the 20th century, in most Unitarian and Universalist congregations, the crosses had been taken down and the communion silver stashed in a basement closet. Now, we were becoming the resistors. We weren't just a lower demand version of the prevailing Christianity. In the 1950s, business interests were combining with mainstream Protestantism to emphasize pro-business values and fight the Cold War. Prayer breakfasts swept the country, bringing together business leaders and church leaders to praise God and denounce communism. The 1950s so thoroughly conflated patriotism and religion that in 1954, Congress added the words "under God" to the Pledge of Allegiance. It was no longer enough to be one nation indivisible. We had to be one nation under God, indivisible, because the enemy of both the business establishment and the religious establishment was godless communism. U.S. church attendance hit its peak in 1959. Just about everybody was in church on Sunday morning, and what was preached there was a theology of God, country, and General Motors. albeit rather less so in Unitarian and Universalist congregations. We were beginning to find ourselves in a countercultural place. The American Unitarian Association, this was before we had consolidated with the Universalists, objected to putting under God in the Pledge of Allegiance and argued that the new version violated the separation of church and state. When a plan was advanced to let kids out of public schools on Wednesday afternoon so they could attend religious instruction in their churches, it was a coalition of Unitarians and Jews that resisted. Amid the prevailing buttoned-down God and country anti-communism, Unitarians were not the epitome of the well-heeled establishment anymore, as Unitarians had been through the 19th century. We weren't even the slightly more skeptical wing of the respectable elite. We had evolved into centers of resistance to the prevailing conventional opinion. Yes, the Unitarians and the Universalists go back 200 years in this country and 400 years in Europe, but we were formed into what we are today during this 1950s phase of massive cultural conformity. The humanism that we moved into in the 30s put us in a position of cultural resistance in the 50s. Our humanism shifted us from insiders to outsiders. When this congregation's own Edna Griffin took on Katz Drugstore in 1948, she did so without overt involvement of her congregation, but also without the kind of objection from her chosen church that she would have gotten at many other churches. The way was being paved. The idea that involvement in social and political issues was what it means to live Unitarian faith was catching on. By the mid-1950s, we were, tentatively at first, getting involved in civil rights issues. In this congregation, we gradually moved from ignoring Edna Griffin's activism to organizing support of it. By 1965, large numbers of Unitarian Universalists were in Selma to march with Dr. King. When I was a youth in the Unitarian Universalist congregation of Atlanta in the early 70s, I saw a lot of anti-Vietnam War activism going on, and I joined in what ways I could as a kid. So yes, justice is at the core of our faith. It's what we do. It wasn't always, but it is now, and it has been for almost 3 generations. So I'll pause now for our interlude, maybe a march. On our UUA webpage, just below the paragraph I quoted earlier, you will read, our intersectional justice priorities are climate justice, inclusive of indigenous sovereignty and climate resilience, decriminalization, inclusive of racial justice and immigration justice, democracy and electoral justice, inclusive of voting rights and electoral participation, and LGBTQIA+ and gender justice, inclusive of reproductive justice and abortion access. Our justice work is carried out in 5 ways: service, education, organizing, advocacy, and witness. Service means direct helping for people materially suffering, things like soup kitchens and clothing drives. Education involves organizing classes and forums to learn and teach about justice issues. Organizing refers to forming partnerships and coalitions to amplify our voice for justice. Advocacy means speaking and writing publicly in support of justice, including lobbying legislators. And witness refers to using the media effectively to get our message out, whether through paid advertising or news coverage. Here at First Unitarian of Des Moines, we have a range of social justice initiatives. Our Faith in Action coordinating team selects 2 nonprofit organizations each year to which to particularly encourage our members to contribute. This year, we're supporting Al Exito and Young Women's Resource Center. If you're a part of our Faith in Action coordinating team, please stand. For environmental justice, we have our Green Sanctuary Initiative. We've been accredited by the UUA as a Green Sanctuary since 2015. Our ongoing Green Sanctuary team focuses on engaging church members on energy efficiency, recycling, composting for our buildings and grounds. The team also promotes outside activities that members can get involved with to improve the greater Des Moines community. If you are or have been a part of our Green Sanctuary Initiative, please stand. Thank you. We have a FEDS, F-E-D-S task force. FEDS stands for Feed Every Deserving Soul or Every Deserving Stomach, although it seems to me that deserving is redundant. There's no such thing as an undeserving stomach or soul. Our FEDS task force facilitates projects to alleviate hunger in central Iowa. This task force prepares and serves dinner monthly for Des Moines unhoused population. If you are or have been a part of FEDS, please stand. Bruce is a big part of that, but he's shy. Our Immigration Task Force heads up our congregation's involvement in immigration and sanctuary issues in central Iowa. We are a part of the Iowa Sanctuary Movement. In 2017, we became a sanctuary church for people facing threat of immediate deportation. Subsequently, our Immigrant Task Force has been involved in various efforts, including assisting asylum seekers and other issues as they arise. If you are or have been a part of our Immigration Justice Initiative, please stand. Thank you. QTAG, Q-T-A-G, is our Queer and Transgender Action Group. This group increases awareness of queer and transgender lives and issues within our church community and provides a safe haven and resources for queer and transgender people in need. The group educates the congregation on gender identity, the difference from sexual orientation, and how to support queer and transgender folk in the community. If you are or have been a part of QTAG, please stand. We have a relatively new task force called Peace, Justice, and Democracy that has been organized for education and advocacy on this broad range of issues. If you are a part of the Peace, Justice, and Democracy Initiative, please stand. And you should know the acronym CBCO. It's Congregation-Based Community Organizing. It's a thing. Our congregation is a part of a couple of CBCO efforts. One of them is Amos, which evokes the biblical prophet Amos, who cried out, "Let justice roll down like water and righteousness like an ever-flowing stream," and which is also an acronym for a mid-Iowa organizing strategy. Amos members include about 30 churches and other community organizations that work together to plan and carry out projects to move the needle toward justice in central Iowa. If you have been involved with Amos, please stand. And there is also a statewide CBCO, Congregation-Based Community Organizing, of just UU congregations called IUWAN, the Iowa UU Witness Advocacy Network. IUWAN brings UUs together to effect state-level actions for justice. If you are a part of IUWAN, please stand. Justice is at the core of our faith, and the need during these times is great. What can you do? There's an awful lot that Unitarian Universalists are doing. And you can add your efforts to one of the social justice initiatives at this congregation or start a new initiative. Our policy declares that if 3 members of this congregation get together for a social justice initiative, they will be recognized as a social justice group of this congregation, meaning you can get space in our intercom newsletter, use the building for meetings, and get spotlight segments in the Sunday service. I know that many of you do social justice outside of the congregation. On your own, you might be a part of Habitat for Humanity, or be in the Sierra Club for environmental justice, or be in the ACLU, American Civil Liberties Union, or Planned Parenthood, or write checks contributing to various justice efforts. Thank you for that. That too is living your faith, and it's so important. I will just note that it's helpful to have a religious grounding for your social justice work. We are here to nurture our spirits and help heal our world, and those are not two separate things. We help heal our world by nurturing our spirits, because yes, the world becomes more whole when any person, including you, nurtures their spirit, becomes more grounded in spiritual awareness that everything is connected. And we nurture our spirits by helping heal our world. The work of justice expands and deepens our spirits. It's a spiritual practice. You have heard the saying, comfort the afflicted and afflict the comfortable. But those also are not two separate things. Let yourself be afflicted out of comfortable complacency, and you will discover that the action you are goaded to take ends up for you a comfort against all that afflicts you. Being afflicted in your comfort functions, in fact, to comfort you in your affliction. So your justice work is not a separate thing from your spiritual path. It's a crucial part of your spiritual path. And your spiritual path, the meditation, your prayer life, your journaling, the fostering of friendships with other UUs, strengthens and supports the justice work. It's a helpful thing to bring them together, to weave together your religion and your social values rather than practicing them separately. So if you are ardent in your support of ACLU or Planned Parenthood or Sierra Club, maybe get together with some other members of this congregation who share that commitment and form a support task force for the organization you love. Doing justice as you is great. Doing justice as a UU is even better. It helps to think together about how the work is a reflection of your theology, your faith. Clarify and articulate the UU values that impel your justice work. We have to be the change we wish to see. As I mentioned last week, to promote a world that is less cruel, we do need to attend to reducing our own penchants for cruelty, even if unintentional. Model being centered, passionate, open-minded, and welcoming. That's bringing your spirituality to the justice task. And when you're talking to people outside this congregation about the justice issue you're working for, identify yourself as a person of faith, a Unitarian Universalist. Make references to your congregation and couch your advocacy in terms of your UU values. Also, include rituals in your activities. Start with a chalice lighting, reading, or meditation. End with a closing reading or a brief sharing. Always plan time for reflection and discussion following significant activities or events. And ask the others in your social action group about their personal and spiritual motivations. We Unitarian Universalists are doing and have done a lot. And we'd like to make a visual display of that for us to see, and that's where the sticky note comes in. Please write on that note a social justice initiative that you have been a part of in the last year or that you want to be a part of in the next year. Add your sticky note to our map on the back wall. Put it in the sea of service, the education estuary, the cove of community organizing, the advocacy Alps, or the woods of public witness. If you need additional sticky notes because you've done several things, we have those on a table in the back. Add as many as are accurate for you. We will make an inspiring visual representation of all that we are doing and have done and will do. May it be so. Blessed be. Amen.
Please rise now and join, when you're done with your sticky notes, please rise now and join me in singing hymn 1018 in your teal hymnal, Come and Go With Me to This Land.
Please say with me our unison chalice extinguishing words on the screen. As we extinguish our chalice, may it glow in our hearts, renewing our spirits, join us to the forces of life, and awakening us to transcendent wonder.
And now for those of you who see God, may God be with you. For those who embrace life, may life return your affection. And for those who seek a better way, may the path be found and the courage to take it step by step. Go in peace.
Hallelujah, sing stars that gave us birth. Hallelujah, resounds our homely earth. Hallelujah, shall echo across the sky.